In the West, people often believe creativity is more likely when you reject convention, hence the stereotype of the tortured artist. As a culture, we love famous examples of rebels and rule breakers, from rock and roll stars to painters. We tend to believe that great acts of creativity are only possible when one ignores or challenges the traditions of both society and artistic practice. Those who accept convention deaden their natural creative sense. We value the visionary and that artist who was ahead of his or her time because they were able to see beyond what the rest of us accept.
As you proceed through the poetry in this book, practice this rating method. As your ability to evaluate poems in this manner grows, so will your enjoyment and understanding of poetry.
Excrement. That's what I think of Mr. J. Evans Pritchard. Now I want you to rip out that page. Go on. Rip out the entire page. You heard me. Rip it out. Rip it out!
Here, Professor Keating exemplifies the stereotypical creative persona, ignoring conventional wisdom. By following the accepted techniques of poetry and criticism, he argues, his students will only repeat what has already been done and lose touch with the real meaning of poems. This view contrasts with the idea that learning poetic technique and reading criticism will improve the quality of one's writing and thinking. This idea echoes Torrance's idea of the fourth grade slump. He thought academic institutions were directly responsible for a drop in creativity. However, later research contradicted him, saying that any kind of change is due to natural developmental stages.
They're not your usual group, but I think they're going to fit in just fine. Everything's going to be fine. Well, I have one little thing to bring up. It's a small thing, but it's important. The guys at Network have told us that they have a little problem with one of your lyrics, the lyric, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher." See, because you can't say higher on Network, so they asked if you could say instead, "Girl, we can't get much better." Can you dig that?
You know that it would be untrue.
Brokey sound-wise, okay.
Two-truck black.
If I was to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Yeah.
In this clip from a movie about the Doors, Jim Morrison disregards Ed Sullivan's request to change a lyric in his song. Jim feels changing the lyric is an affront to his music, and he challenges convention by ignoring the request and proceeding with his original. Rock and roll history is full of stories of anti-establishment creativity. Many musicians believed their creative energy and relevance were a result of their status as figures of social rebellion. The fact that fans continue to embrace rock stars is proof that they agree.
You take beautiful photographs.
That's true. She always takes pictures that she hides from me.
That's because they're nothing. How do you know I take pictures?
I found them in your luggage.
You went through my luggage?
Of course I went through your luggage. I wanted to know who was really sharing the bed of my ex-husband.
Similar to Juan Antonio, the most famous 20th century Spanish painter approached love in a different light. Picasso's famed womanizing led him to artistic excellence with his lovers Marie-Thérèse Walter and Dora Maar as his muses. Dora Maar, like Juan Antonio's ex-wife, was an artist too and documented Picasso's work on Guernica, his most acclaimed mural. People often believe that unconventional lifestyles like Picasso's lead to creative output.
Jackson Pollock. I'm Lee Krasner. I thought I knew all the abstract artists in New York, and I don't know Jackson Pollock.
What you're doing is the most original and vigorous art in the country.
We're broke.
You've done it, Pollock. You've cracked it wide open.
Genius. Jackson broke the ice.
You open that mouth again, I'll kill you.
You are killing me! You are killing me! You are killing me!
Oh.
Although Jackson Pollock was a skilled painter before, he didn't achieve widespread renown until he developed a style that was original and unconventional. Art critics embraced his work because it voiced a challenge to traditional ideas about art. In both popular and critical culture, especially now, artists that become well-respected are often those that are radical, confrontational, or inaccessible.
How shall one say, director?
too many notes, Your Majesty.
Exactly. Very well put. Too many notes.
I don't understand. There are just as many notes, Majesty, as are required, neither more nor less.
Well, my dear fellow, there are, in fact, only so many notes the ear can hear in the course of an evening. The work is ingenious. It's quality work. And there are simply too many notes. That's all. Just cut a few, and it'll be perfect.
Which few did you have in mind, Majesty?
The movie Amadeus presents Mozart as a genius ahead of his time. As this clip shows, the way he is able to imagine, create, and experience music is far beyond those around him. A key part of the movie's drama centers around the fact that Mozart is forced to create art for a world that cannot understand it, and that simply hears it as too many notes. While it may come as a surprise that research hasn't supported the idea of the creative person as a mad scientist or fringe figure, creativity does, in its essence, involve pushing the boundaries of what has been done before. Regardless of the evidence against this belief, we can still appreciate these classic characters for their originality and praise the child for his wide-eyed enthusiasm for the creative.
Say you want a revolution.